You are now listening to the Rise Podcast, hosted by Mike Cavelli.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Rise, hosted by yours truly, Mike Cavelli. Today I got some very special guests, very important guests. My good friend Sury, and then my other friend James.
So very special.
Yeah. Very special because they're doing amazing things, honestly. They're killing the game right now, the young entrepreneurship VC game.
Jeez.
Right? Wouldn't y'all say so?
I mean, we're doing all right.
I know you'll humble yourself about it, but no, they're honestly killing the game right now. So a little bit about them. Met them in college. Went to the University of Delaware. They're 21. And both y'all are 21. And yeah, they came out the gates fucking hot. So their company that they made is VR 360 technology. 360 VR technology.
We're coming up with a better name.
Yeah.
It's just taking a while. Right now, that's just the placeholder.
It is a little mouthful, but I mean, it definitely defines what the company is.
It did.
I think if we diversify a little more, then it would. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it was perfect in the beginning, and then we pivoted a ton, so now it's very different. So.
But so tell the people what your company is about.
Yeah. Do you want to go first or second? The cool thing is that we don't have a time limit, so we don't have to do an elevator pitch shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So we can go into each and every complex detail about what we're trying to do.
So, yeah, as long as the battery gets it all in.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So basically, 360 VR is a company that me and James started back in. We really started working on like this aspect of the company back in October. So basically, in a nutshell, what we do is we use 3D models and intensive analysis to essentially create full building profiles for first responders. So if there's ever a fire, active shooter, natural disaster, anything, the first responders have the full building layout at their fingertips on their phone, rather than like right now the standard is either like the physical binder. So they have physical binders in their stations that have like floor plans, and these are floor plans that they've collected over maybe 10, 15 years. They've probably never been updated. They're missing a ton of the buildings. They don't have a lot of information, and oftentimes whenever there's a situation, they have to go on the scene and then spend the time to like figure it out, which adds a lot to response time. It's very inefficient. Like people being trapped in the building, say like if we're in room like 301 somewhere, a firefighter who's never been here is not going to know where 301 is. They have to go inside to a burning building and like figure it out. Versus like with our platform, they pull it up on their phone. They'll know, okay, the incident commander can see, okay, 301 is up the stairs on the left side, down the hall, third floor on your right, or third floor on your right. Makes it a lot more efficient, makes it a lot more faster, and helps them a lot in the field.
And you guys can also use this technology for a lot of different things as well, too, right?
Right. So essentially, like our primary like foot in the door type thing is like emergency response, because there's like, and there was just like one yesterday in Texas, where they have like a bunch of incidents. Everyone's on like high alert. Everyone needs to, like, it's a very big issue that police and all these people, they don't have this building
or something like the Vegas shooting with the guys in the hotel.
Yeah, they didn't know what like Romeo's in. It's a very inefficient system right now. And so I mean that's our primary like mission, is to be able to help in those situations, help to hopefully save lives with this. But then we also like added a few like functionalities and things like that to help like the building owner with functionality, day-to-day functionality.
So it's not just like emergency dire.
So it's not just sitting on a shelf. Like if or when an emergency occurs, they can get value from it every single day using the same core technology.
Got you. Now, is this a live 24/7 technology?
Soon.
So right now, like we do our 3D scans, we collect all the information. It's we try to keep it as up to date as possible.
Yeah.
So if there's any major changes to the building, we would come out and redo that part of the building, make sure it's accurate. Because for first responders, they mostly need like the general layout of the building and knowing like, okay, this is a separate room, that's a separate room. Okay, maybe they tear down one of the walls and there's like a bigger room. So that's the kind of things that those kinds of updates will like capture. If something's like, say like you put this up one day and then the next day you change it out with like $1,000 bill. They don't really need to know that. So it's like the core changes, so and that makes it easier for us and
Mhm.
easier to collect the information.
A
while
lot
still-
easier,
yeah.
like not stepping on anyone's toes too,
Right.
especially if we're doing lives.
That's a lot of data that needs to be stored, though, right?
Yeah. So we mostly use different cloud servers to do so. But depending on what client it is and what customer it is, we have to store it within their servers. So anything works for us. So
How do you intertwine the two?
Yeah, so like for example, like some private schools they don't have too advanced of like IT infrastructure, so they rely on us to store it and make sure it's available and things like that, which is fine. Like we have everything encrypted, everything is like hashed, everything is like I'm studying cybersecurity, so I know all this stuff, and then our professors help us out with like making sure that everything is like up to par. But then some like University of Delaware, they want us to implement it onto their servers because they have the IT infrastructure, they have like all their security standards in place. So, and that's easy for us to do too. It's just deploying it over to them and let them take care of it.
yeah.
That's all. So you're ready to get in a contract with UD?
We're doing the Bob Carpenter Center. We're still trying to figure out like the technical aspects.
Right,
of-
hey guys, free tuition, maybe?
Bro, free parking, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Just for parking, you're lowballing yourself.
Bro, man, like
They got a lot of buildings and
I mean,
a
that's-
huge endowment.
That's
They-
eyeballing, man. Parking is
yeah,
expensive.
they're killing me with these tickets.
Parking
man.
is expensive though.
It's crazy.
And towing, you and tow, I swear their prices go up like every 6 months.
It's insane, man. Like, why do they should have parking spaces? I get like why it's not like that, but
Yeah, they should have big parking garages.
yeah, I'd take free parking. I would take what else is really annoying.
Free food.
I want winter and summer semesters for free,
That one. Yeah, just
what
so
else?
convenient.
or like just give us a degree, then we'd be straight. That'd be even better.
Honorary degrees.
Yeah, exactly. Just be like, yo, they're straight. Let them through. Give them A's.
They
Not
got
even
this.
A's. Give me C's, and then we're straight.
So these get degrees, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be
See,
super excited.
I would know.
But yeah, I mean, that's just how it's kind of a slower process because you have to deal with like the bureaucracy and approval process and things like that. But it's a larger like scale sale, so it's worth it.
What are some of the problems that you've had with building this system?
When you say that, what do you mean by the system? Like building the software?
designing.
Building the software,
So like in terms of building the software, it hasn't been too bad,
Yeah.
and that's where like they teach a lot of this at like the Horn program, where it's a constant like you work with the customers first, you understand exactly like what their needs are day to day, what their values are. So like when we've interviewed over like 300 first responders at this point, and we
Yeah.
understand like they need the information,
It
like,
has to be
specific information.
Has to be a web page.
Has to be web based, so like mobile, tablet, all that stuff can be easily accessed.
And without having to download it or needing like certain types of software space to be able to do so.
Right, and then you have to make it as intuitive as possible.
Super
so,
simple. Yeah.
Because they don't know how to use it.
Yeah, and then every meeting we have with a firefighter or a police officer, they're always like they started off with we are stupid people, make it as dumb, make it as easy as possible to use. So
At least they're honest with you.
yeah, it's appreciated.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, they're not dumb people, but they say like design it as if they were like
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
know in emergency response situations.
You want it to be stupid,
Yeah.
simple.
Yes.
What's that term? Stupid, easy, simple.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it kiss.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. There we
So,
go.
like-
I was like, I know that entrepreneur acronym from somewhere.
So I took a few like different styles, but then once we like nailed the design, then we put forth like the software effort, and that makes it really easy to go forward rather than building it and then having to rebuild it.
How long did it take to get all this, like finished and then like starting to pitch to people? Like, how long was the process?
We were pitching from day one.
From idea to.
Yeah, like the second we got the idea, because we got the idea from interviewing people. So every interview is a pitch, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
of
we
course.
basically pitched 300 at some times, every day, just with a new pitch every time.
How
And
did you
then
find these people?
Emails.
Yeah.
It was really fun, man.
Were they all around Delaware, or did you go?
Delaware, technically we pitched from California to Delaware, but most of our interviews were done within the tri-state area. So the process of finding people isn't too difficult. It's just time consuming. It's just like
How did you find them?
you look at if you want to interview firefighters. So our first interview was a firefighter. We sat. Our friend Lauren brought us to her friend. I think his name was like Matt, right?
Yeah, Matt or Mark.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, dope dude. He volunteers as a firefighter. Fire station right next to Horn, like a 4-minute walk. And so we sat there and we talked to him, and we learned all these problems. And then we said, hey, can you introduce us to like some of the higher ups? And he did. And we had 2 interviews. And we had 3. We had 4. and then we started talking to the government officials, state officials, anyone we really could get our hands on, and just emailing every day the same like a template, and then you're just switching it up depending on the type of employee or job title and like the ask you're really looking for. But for the most part, for the first like 3 months or so, it was just always, hey, we're 2 UD students. Hey, we're trying to build this thing that can help save lives. This is a class project. Something, insert something just to make it seem like this is something that we need for a grade.
Yeah, get pity from them type shit.
Yeah, exactly. and then like as we started building towards something a little bit more serious, people started asking us like, is this really a class project? This is an in-depth class project. So at a certain point, we were just like, yeah, we're making this as a venture. Still now people think it. The problem with that process though is just like when you switch from like this is a class project and that email to this is a business, and now we're making that switch now. We're making that switch right now, which is kind of crazy. Like we decided like.
Now you're getting different responses.
No, we decided this on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like in terms of like getting people in the pipeline and talking to them, like it's really easy to say like we get like an 80-90% response rate, and then
for class projects.
For class, I mean, and then 40% of those people like want us to meet with them.
Yeah, there it is.
So, and they're all interested, like they express interest and stuff like that. But
so I mean, if you're just getting like ideas from them and like seeing what they need or like,
no,
like why? Yeah, exactly. Like why? Why switch it up from this is a class project
like we
to
still wanna,
if it's working, don't.
Like we still want to learn
wheel.
from them, but at some point you have to start like selling and like.
What is it? Diminishing returns.
Is law of diminishing returns.
Yeah. So like eventually, like the interviews, we stop learning as much, and we start being able to answer questions immediately before they ask them, and it's getting to that point.
Yeah, and then we don't want to start like closing them and start like moving forward in terms of like generating revenue.
Yeah.
Which. Now that we're like kind of switching gears and starting to generate more revenue, I mean the people who we've talked to like and build relationships with the past, they've been pretty open. They want to like work with us. It's just again that longer sales cycle because you have to go and get their approval and things like that. But now we want to start like going at it from the sales from the beginning just to see like how to tweak that and if we need to like say like someone just gives us $1 million to say okay go at this like full time, do this now. We want to make sure that we can if we hire salespeople they know exactly how to contact them, what points they hit on, and be able to close the sale.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
So we were contacting these people as students, and some people were like, "Yeah, I like this idea. Let's do it," and that's really cool. But at a certain point, that student mindset from the jump when you get started, because the perception is like really key in going into a sales cycle, especially for a security product with no reputation. Coming in as we're students versus we're a business that's trying to work with your institution and wants to collect all this data and help you save lives and money and potentially other things is like it's a very big switch. So our response rate is what we're expecting. At least we don't know. I guess we find out this week or in the next 2 weeks. We'll probably go down, but
it'll be more qualified responses.
Exactly, more qualified leads, and we'll be able to put people in the pipeline that are actually interested. And so if that's one guy for every 200 emails, that's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. You're still getting the sale.
Yeah, exactly. Versus like you're getting like 40 people per 200 emails.
And wasting time.
Yeah, exactly. And not even just wasting time. At the time it wasn't a waste, but we're getting to the point where we have a working MVP. We have people that we're starting to bring in.
And what's the MVP for those that don't know?
Minimum valuable product.
And what is a minimum viable product?
It's basically like the most working version of your product. So like there's different levels to MVP. So like you can have like a wireframe that would count as an MVP. And that's what we were working with before. So we would show them like a design and they say like, oh, like why don't you have this or this sucks or stuff like that.
This sucks.
Yeah. And then as you continue like developing it, like since we have like the technical resources, we can have like a working version where we can actually like deploy it and actually like give them like the touch and feel of it, what the product would actually look like. So we have that right now that we can like start selling and start like implementing and get their like direct like user feedback like that rather than just seeing it on like a presentation, they can like actually like
use it.
Yeah, actually use it, say like, okay, this is kind of slow or this is kind of buggy, and then that comes back to us, we fix it, and then we give it back, and then It's like a constant like
feedback loop.
Yeah, feedback loop.
Yeah.
So like companies are at different stages at different times, and we've hit the point where to grow to the next stage it's all sales, and not even sales as in we need money, but sales as in users.
Mm-hmm.
So we just need traction, and like depending on the type of company, like if it was Facebook, where Facebook would be like at our stage would be like a couple of thousand users versus like for us we would need like 5 customers.
Yeah.
And that's not as heavy as it sounds, but because we're focusing on these giant buildings,
Mm-hmm.
one customer is this giant. It's just really big part. It's training. It's making sure they know how to use it. It's a little complicated in the beginning, but after that it's good to go. So we have to show a track record of being able to convince people they want it. Well, not even convince. Sell to people and then train them and then them using it and then be able to show that to anybody that we either want to invest or we want to work with in the future, or for not even just for eventual VC, but for future customers.
Yeah.
As we continue to increase our price, keep adding more features, and just continue to make better products.
Because like especially with like this type of thing, you definitely benefit from like the network effect where. If University of Delaware has it, like they were really adamant about like being the first ones on our platform, so they can kind of say to University of Maryland and University of Virginia, like, hey, we have these features, you guys don't have it.
It's recruiting.
You know.
I have.
So.
Blow us.
Yeah.
We're better than you.
Yeah.
You might have Under Armour, but we have this.
So. But yeah, you gotta benefit from that because it's a new. It's not like we're selling security cameras or something that's been around for. It's a new product. It's a new type of philosophy that goes with this type of security where instead of like it being 2D for like the last like 100 years, now it's 3D and it's a lot more intuitive, it's a lot more details, it's a lot more valuable. That I mean we're very like happy that it's a double-edged sword that we're kind of happy that we're like the first people to kind of pioneering this type of thing.
It's extremely innovative.
Yeah, but it's like interesting because no one else has really done it, so we have to do all the legwork in terms of like making sure it's valuable, making sure that it's scalable, making sure it's repeatable. Because if there's another company that can do it, and they already figured everything out, it's very easy for us here to be like, oh, they charge this much, we can charge that much.
Yeah, we'll charge just a little under, and we'll do these things to make it better, and then we'll go.
Like, so is there competition in this space already?
Yeah, but not in different ways. But we're creating a market, which is interesting. But I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely competition. I mean, it's like we do a lot of different things within one software platform, and we're doing it at various levels.
So there's no other company that does
not
as
to
many
not
things
to the
as
way
you guys.
Yeah, not to the way we're doing it. I mean, there's lots of like school security software that's out there. They've been there for like the last 20 years, like especially post 9/11. But they kind of cap out. I mean, they're still using the same standards like the 2D floor plans. They're using very basic information.
Haven't changed much in 2001.
Right. So and they're not even that growing. They're like little pockets. Like there's one in New Jersey. There's one in upstate New York. There's some in Delaware.
So what's the thing that separates you guys the most?
The biggest thing is, at least to our customer, is that beyond like the technology stuff, is that we, with our expertise that we've gained over the last like 8 months and validating our expertise with like firefighters, police officers, things like that, we collect and we upload the information for them. Like right now, like a lot of these softwares, they rely on like.
They're giving it to school teachers to basically fill out these platforms, and they're making these catch-all softwares that are like, here's a basic outline, here's a skeleton. Now your school has to fill out the security information, but often in these schools or these big buildings, there isn't a security expert. It's usually like not a janitor, but like the guy who runs the janitorial staff, or the person who makes sure that the bushes are cut. You know, like it's not
maintenance.
Maintenance and facility guys, or it's your vice principal, which their job is not to
do that.
So these softwares rely on having individuals fill it out, and I have no expertise in this space.
And even if they have expertise, they just don't have time because it's not their primary job. They have to like teach students. They have to run the school.
Yeah.
Like, and as a result, a lot of this information is just missing from a lot of these schools. And I mean, if shit hits the fan and there's an emergency, you're dealing with incomplete information versus like if you go with us, technology stuff aside, you'll have all the information that's we pre-planned, we got through it, we have all the checklists of all the standpipes, emergency exits, evacuation zones, all the stuff that the fire department wants. We have that information already collected and ready to go, versus another one.
Because the way we're doing it is very different. Basically, there is just fill out the blanks. You know, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. They're having them fill everything out, and we are basically just collecting it all for you and giving it to you. And the process we're doing it in is a lot quicker and a lot more efficient. And there's no aspect of taking someone's time away or forcing someone else to do their job. And certain schools are having to hire like retired police officers or retired people within security spaces, and they're asking them to start mapping out their schools and doing all these key resources, and like basically like trying to get them to do security for them, and it's difficult and it's expensive, so they're in this really weird alternative space.
And it's such a high priority for like these schools because, you know, every parent like sending a kid to like a school, they want to make sure their kid is safe, obviously, like, and there's lots of pressures on like these principals, headmasters, all these people to, what are you doing to make my kid safe? And so all these people, they charge a lot. I mean, they're experts, they built a really good software. I mean, it works to the extent it's going to work, based on like what their deployment is, but they charge a lot for this, and they charge a lot up front, and then you just move on to the next one, whereas we want to, we charge a little bit more. I mean, we charge about, I don't know, about almost
a lot less than they do.
Yeah, a lot less. Because we want to build a longer term relationship where we're not relying on selling to one just one time and going on to the next one, just going on to the next one.
Trying to build relationships.
Yeah, building relationships where
you have
we can
repeat
use
customers.
Yeah, repeat customers. You have a subscription, making sure they're happy, making sure they're constantly, our platform is providing value and providing additional value.
So is that how you're gonna sell it? You're gonna put it on a subscription basis and not just like a one-time fee?
It depends. Like if it's a state if we're doing something with the state government, like contracts have to be certain ways depending on the state. But for the most part, subscription based.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a lot longer term value, and then we can develop like one really big weakness in a lot of these like school security softwares is that they only provide a lot of value during emergencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 99% of the time, like God forbid there ever is an emergency, but 99% of the time it's going to be sitting like on a shelf or like an app that no one ever opens. Whereas like we're creating modules and features and things like that help like with day-to-day operations. So it makes their for like the smaller emergencies, you know, like a water pipe breaks. That's, I mean, they're not
like
calling
you were explaining
911.
earlier, like a light bulb that goes out.
Right. It's not they're not calling 911, but like it's still an emergency. It still causes disruption. It still causes like things to.
Whenever there's failure.
Being reminded to to change out your what is it called?
The fire extinguishers.
Your fire extinguishers. The small things that if you don't do them right, obviously like beyond the emergency, you're not prepped for the emergency,
mm-hmm.
so you won't be able to respond during when they actually do happen. And then on the other side of it, it shows a lack of care towards your building and your occupants, which is like, from a financial standpoint, is really, really bad, depending on what insurance company you use and other aspects of your financials. But just from like an ethical standpoint, it's
so something like this would help other businesses lower their insurance.
So we're working towards a way to do that. We're doing a lot of research with insurance companies like that. Because we have a lot of like ultimately the insurance company's benefits financially at the end. Like if hypothetically, worst case, like this building burns down, and if we did this building and we can help the fire department save 10% of this whole like structure, that's millions of dollars that the insurance company doesn't have to pay.
And as a side thing, do you guys have insurance on your, like an insurance plan on your company itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah,
that'd be bad.
But yeah, so sorry, continue.
But yeah, so, I mean, ultimately the insurance company will benefit from it. And that's some of the things that we're doing, especially with our early clients, is trying to set a precedent where we work with like this private school, we can lower their insurance maybe 5-10%, which for those large schools, I mean, that's a huge amount. If we can set that precedent, then we're pretty good. We're still in the process of setting that precedent. We're talking to a lot of insurance companies, reinsurance companies, brokers, trying to figure out which like levers to pull, which like things because it's a new industry, right? That's one of the one of the downsides is if someone out west is doing this and they have a track record or they set the precedent that you install this, you save 20% on your insurance. We can do the exact same thing, but since we're like first people trying to do this, you kind of have to go through and do all that research and figure out exactly how it works. And we're getting close. I mean, it might be like a year or two out, but then once it's set, then it opens up. It makes it a lot more economical. So there's the emotional sell where economical.
That's my favorite word.
It makes it right now. There's the emotional sell and there's the like cover my ass sell where, like hey, if something happens, we did our due diligence. You know.
Yeah.
Especially like for schools and hospitals and things like that, they need. I mean, obviously, like it's not like security theater where like we're selling something just so they can say like we covered it. It will provide a value to them. It'll actually like work.
But with including insurance, it makes it really easy to see how this affects your bottom line every single day. So it becomes it goes from the emotions make sense, my ass is covered, and I'm saving money, versus like how much I'm paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense.
So if you can leverage both, then it's a much faster sale. It's much more value to the customer, and you move a lot quicker.
If you don't mind me asking, how much would it cost a company or business to have it monthly, this type of technology?
So we do an annual fee of $1,000 to $2,000, and then
You said how much?
$1,000 to $2,000 for an annual fee per year. So and then the analysis is $5,000 is 15. So 15 gets you closer to like a stadium. 5,000 is probably what we charge. 6,000, 7,000 what we charge for this building. So 50,000 square feet is our target space.
Mm-hmm.
For but if there's any high risk factors like a laboratory, high occupancy like a mall, things like that, then it's within the target market. So, but the base price of 5,000 is usually what we expect most buildings to be within. Yeah. So we're looking at like at most a $7,000 fee per building.
Gotcha.
At least for right now.
Yeah.
As soon as we do more research and as soon as we could build a more robust product, can have more features, then we can increase that price.
How many buildings have you guys done already?
So we scan like what 25, 30?
Yeah, we've scanned 25, 30 in terms of like researching, building our beta, building like all the software and stuff like that.
So we built the software in June. And we just finished it, which is a great feeling, like late June. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How long did it take to make the software?
Long.
And that's crazy. You guys built it yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
that's ridiculous, yo.
I think about 2 months. It wasn't.
Both you know how to code?
Yeah, that's me. So it was me and like I had some people like helping me out, but like the biggest part of it was finding out exactly what to build and how everything like fits together before you actually like start coding anything or before you write the first line of code, because all that stuff is much more important than any code. Anyone can write code, anyone can build a software, anyone can do that. Knowing what to build and making sure it like flows and making sure the customer actually wants it and actually can use it before you build it, that's much more valuable. And that's where like we started that process back in October, and then it took until October to about May to refine that process, make sure it's valuable, making sure that we're not spending all this time and energy building something that no one wants.
So pretty much about like 9 months.
Yeah, it took us October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May.
And you get the double benefit of like you refine your product, you refine like your business model, you understand how everything works, you build your expertise, because
you get some money.
Yeah, because we're not like God bless the people that like run into burning buildings and like are police officers and things like that. We haven't done that. We don't have experience in that. So that learning curve and understanding how like their lives work, what their priorities are in terms of like making it as simple as possible. So there are a lot of
figuring out where the problem is, figuring out how you could fix it, and then implementing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some people
just like what every entrepreneur does.
Yeah. People just build stuff a lot of the time.
No, I was just saying.
It's fine. I mean,
that's how like.
I mean, that's what entrepreneurship is supposed to be at the root of it. Finding problems, fixing problems.
Right. Like there's lots of, and it's starting to change, and that's what they teach us like at Horn is like, focus on the problem, focus on the customer. Don't focus on building a product or building a technology, because that's what, I mean, last 20 years or 20 years before like this decade. I mean it's caused a lot of like just a lot of wasted money, wasted time, just wasted energy, and I don't know. something sounds cool, VCs throw, especially out west, they throw millions, sometimes billions of dollars at something that nobody's really gonna buy, and then you lose all that money.
Oh, dude, I told you about this. I met like one of the guys that was like running Google Glasses, or was it Google Glasses or goggles? Glasses, yeah. And it was funny hearing him talk about it, because he was running like this program where they taught that design process. And he's like, yeah, we didn't do any of that shit. He was just like, yeah, we built it. Oh, this is cool. They built it internally, and then they just let it rip, and it did not work out. But I mean,
it was
like,
a big fail.
Yeah. I mean, he's straight, but some people probably got fired. I don't know. I didn't ask too many questions.
Because it's one of those things that sounds like it'll be the best thing ever. Like one of the first responders was telling us, like, oh, HoloLens, like we can actually like see buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
no
until there's like smoke everywhere, and like, bro, like you start sweating. There's fog everywhere in your glasses. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, even like the way that people think we use our technology, like, people are running into a burning building. They're not pulling their phone out or their tablet or something like that. The way this works is before, during, and after. There's different people using it in different stages, and they're talking to different people and communicating, and that makes more sense. But people always think that we're like.
I think we need some Tony Stark technology, like they
facts.
put on their gas mask. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
Inside.
We'll get there. We need lots.
Inside, Jarvis is like.
Yeah, the crazy
there's
part
a
is
person over there.
we're literally building
You're
the
right.
infrastructure for that. Like, there's a lot of companies that are making like geospatial tech, which is like they're mapping the outside of the world, but not many people do it internally. And like, excuse me, if we get this thing to run, and we can just do this for 5 years, like, we're literally going to be the company that people are coming to for the inside of buildings, and not just the only company. There's probably more, and there's more right now, but
you're one of the first.
not that, but we'll be one of the best, because we'll be allowed to go into a lot of buildings if this works.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to make Jarvis, which is like this insane thought. I was watching Iron Man the other day. I thought about that. I was like, shit.
I saw Spider-Man.
Damn, yo, I might actually be able to accomplish this.
Yeah. I mean, like, because I mean, it won't be us, but like, I mean, someone has to build the internet for someone to build, you know. So like,
Yeah, it's really like, even if we don't build it, just the foundational like stuff that we're building right now, the stuff that we can build off in terms of like IoT,
the
AI, robotics, all these things. These are all options for us going forward, and I mean, hopefully like it works well where we can be like a company like Amazon or Facebook would just raise huge amounts of money just to spend on this type of stuff, but. Until then, at our core, like what we're doing right now, I mean, we feel good about it. It's hopefully, I mean, it's yet to be seen, but it'll be a profitable business. Like, we'll be fine. Like, even if we don't blow up, we still be like, really small.
If we get like a state contract, me and Sury are gonna be set. So like that's a good thing to say. And then, you know, like, we had some a nice little nest. But if we get to do like some of the cooler stuff we've been talking about for a while, that'd be insane. Cause Sury's like a really big ideas guy. So he'll always just text me like at random times, like, yo, what if we did this? And I'm like, Sury, I don't know if we could do that, but like, if we can, that'd be great. And then like my first thought whenever he says something like that is like, how does that work? How much money do we need? And then who do we need to build it? And like,
might as well reach for the stars.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's not impossible, which is like something that is wild, because like when me and Sury first started, like, what we were working on before, we were doing something that we got shit on a lot for. So it's like a very unique experience watching how quick that turns.
Yeah.
Not like in a people definitely should shit on our idea. It was not good. And then the way we were going about it was not great either. But you know, you gotta take your lumps.
Yeah. And like, I remember like, it's really nice like having an idea. Like, we were like trying to like, we were in like Vince's class, and we were taking like a startup experience class, and we had like the VR marketing stuff, and we had to present every week in front of like our class and like our peers who are also like fellow entrepreneurs. They go through like, they also had their own startups, and every week it's just
no.
Okay, they point out this, like no.
Hole.
And like, I remember like.
But at least they're preparing you for
investors. They don't blame them. Yeah.
There's no substitute for that.
The only reason we got the idea is because some kid pointed out a hole.
Yeah. Like.
Shout out Darian.
Yeah, like we were in class, we were pitching like an insurance play or something like that, and like one of our friends, Darian, he was like, "What if you use it for security?" And he was more like asking, like, it was interesting too, because he asked more about like the hardware, how to use like 360 cameras.
Yeah,
for, like,
he wants to
monitoring.
build live VR cameras.
But that's where like something just clicked, and then I remember I wrote it down in my notebook, like right after he said it, I showed it to James, and like he kind of like approved it, and then we started doing our interviews, and it started to click. So like the next week, people actually like liked our idea, and they're like, "Oh, I don't see any holes with this," or "I see like holes that you can very like easily take care of," and that's where like it's a very great feeling. It's a very like
Gratifying.
yeah, it's a very deserved feeling, you know, especially like you go through like a lot of process, you go through a lot of trial and error, you get shit on, you get like, and you just kind of feel like really, I don't know, like a few weeks before that, we were feeling like hopeless. Like,
Yeah, because we were meeting with Vince, our advisor, like every week. We were making him stay later just to talk to us. And every time we got in the meeting, he'd be like, if I were on your team, which is what he says every single time, he'd say, I would switch from VR and I would look at the 10 most growing industries, and I would just start there, find a problem, and build up. And we're like, oh, yeah, sure, Vince.
Why does he not like VR?
No, he did.
He
No.
likes VR, but he didn't
like
where we were going, because we didn't have anything like
Gotcha.
solid.
It
We
wasn't
didn't have-
this.
Yeah, we were bullshitting for weeks. And like we were like, yeah,
because at first it started with like going and like doing it for real estate.
Yeah, like, and it's a growing, I mean, you can make a decent amount, it's not going to be $1 billion company. Like, no one individually can run $1 billion company unless you develop the cameras or you developed a new way to do it. But no one individually can, because there's just so much competition.
Yeah, we're a
There's
small
such a
business.
low barrier to that space.
But you're still doing well.
not really. We were doing okay for college kids. We weren't doing well for like a
For
business.
the marketing stuff, like, we got a few, like, contracts, we got a few minor, but there's nothing, like,
Yeah, don't downplay it. This
like, in terms of, like,
you're
the
still
marketing
doing
stuff,
great.
like, the marketing stuff, like, it was fine, like, we got, like, BPG, we got a few, like, pretty noble, but you have to constantly sell every day, there's no solidity, solidification to it.
There's no constant revenue.
So
Right.
how much did you guys invest into this company as a whole?
I think we invested a few thousand, like, before, like, we pivoted, and then after we pivoted, we put in a decent amount more to build the platform, buy better cameras, buy better equipment.
And as
Be
a
able to
20
use,
as a 21-year-olds, how do you get this money to invest into a
Uh,
company?
Like, working.
Yeah, pitch competitions.
I mean, it was before the pitch competitions.
Oh,
too.
facts.
Well, pitch competitions helped with like the software side because we did that in May, and then we won
Mm.
some competitions.
So you hear that, guys? You're trying to get some VC money? Go to some pitch competitions.
We haven't had any. We're like 6-7 months away from VC.
That's where they give you a big check.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even know. We want to even go the VC route in the long run. I mean, for a little bit longer than that.
Because I mean, if we wanted capital like 50, 100, 200 grand, we could probably get that within like a week or like by the end of this month or something like that. But yeah,
Make it 3. Make it 3.
100 grand.
Yeah.
It's called like
It's not the money part. We
I
have
mean,
to,
it's not-
we have to
yeah, but I'm saying
explain
if we
why we
just-
need the money.
yeah. If we, I mean, we'll have so, anyway, but like it's a matter of like being strategic about it
Can I,
because
can
we're
I
not-
explain venture capital really quick?
Sure, go
Or
ahead.
like the process of asking for money. So like, people, when you want money from people, you have to be able to explain why you need the money. Secondly, what the money you will use it for, and third,
Exactly what you use it for.
yeah, exactly, and then what the outcome will be, and very hard numbers. So like, I know that sounds very simple, but
it's
it
not.
is super complicated, and it's like not. So like the hardest part about getting money isn't like finding money and like
Because there's tons of money in the
yeah,
world.
and getting access to the money, especially right now because we're in the market we're in. Like we don't have to do this, but
Yeah.
like it's not insane. Especially depending on the amount of money, like 50, 100, 200, that's very doable, especially in Delaware, which is kind of insane. At least Philadelphia. But if you don't know exactly what your money will bring them, then they're not going to give you any money.
or they're gonna give it to you at like a very bad rate.
Yeah, they're going to screw you over. So like if you can't answer those 3 questions, and those are really simple, like everything entrepreneurship, everything's super simple. Every question is super simple. Like for Y Combinator, if you apply for their accelerator, they don't want you to explain with marketing terms. They want things done in like a bullet point list. So it's like, we've raised this much, we made this much, we built our software then, we built it with this, Like just venture capital slides are usually bullet point slides on a
All
white background.
definitive answers.
Yeah, on a white background, it's not pretty, it's not nice, it's just simple. But basically the point is like if you can't explain that, then you can't ask for money, or
It's
you
because
can.
these guys want to know, all right, I'm giving you this much money, how long is it going to take to get it back?
Exactly.
With my
Because
extra money.
Because you have to
also
explain to your investors, because they're getting money from someone else, and they
Yeah.
have to explain. They have to take that slide and explain it to somebody else. So it's like this very.
And you also have to like gauge how desperate you are for the money too, because we're not desperate for the money. We can go. I mean, we're still in school. We still have like a year left. Worst case, that
Yeah.
yeah, and then
When you go
worst
into
case-
competitions, how much money do you guys ask for?
we usually, well, let me answer that after I get to talk about the desperation thing, because we're not like bleeding money. We don't have like hundreds of thousands of dollars like bleeding every month, or
Yeah.
like we need money to keep this going. Like
The way
can
we
still,
built this is that we built it where we only have to spend capital when we're getting capital, which is like there's a really great position to be in, because realistically, if things stayed exactly the same, if we didn't sell anything for a while, me and Sury have enough capital, we could work for like what 3.5 years, I believe.
Yeah.
That's of course without salaries or rental space.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's a good it's a good space to be, because there's no like.
3.5 years of just pure work.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Worst case, like
Yeah,
we don't
really
do
worst
anything.
case.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
we
if
don't
you're
get any
making no
clients
money.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get any clients. We just build this for 3 years, which is, I mean, some companies have to do that because they don't have anything, or maybe not. The idea isn't thought out.
But at least you guys even have that planned out. Most people don't even have that planned out.
Right, so it's a good place to be in, and it's nice to be like to know like the absolute bottom level. You
Yeah.
know, we have options going up.
Mm-hmm.
So, but coming back to like pitch competitions, things like that, it's all about like who you're pitching to, what their goals are, what they want to see you use the money for. So, and every competition's different. So like Hen Hatch, they have different goals, different objectives. I mean, most of them are pretty similar, but you have to play to your audience. You always have to play to your audience, no matter what you're doing. I went to UC Davis. They have a different set of goals. Like we pitched to, and like it's the reason why we didn't win the grand prize for UC Davis, because we were pitching to all finance people, which we find out like later, and they want to see like hard numbers like ROI, long-term growth potential, things like that. Stuff that
So you gotta make sure you cater each competition, each pitch.
if you
to
want to do
what
well,
we
I
are-
mean, you
yeah.
can do well
Like
doing the same thing everywhere, but if you want to be confident that you're going to do well, or
if you wanna
actually
clean
do
up,
well,
yeah.
Know your audience.
know your audience. And that's why like we didn't win the first place, or we didn't win first place, but we won the engineering award because the engineering stuff was thought out, and how everything works on that side was thought out. We didn't have the financial stuff figured out until, and we're still figuring everything out.
And we didn't even
Um,
put it on the slide deck.
Yeah.
Because depending on where we are, like sometimes they don't even care. Like, because sometimes they're like, I'm not gonna look at a 5-year projection on a slide deck and go through that right now. But other times it's like, that's all I want to see.
Right.
Fuck your idea, you know. So it's like, so it's interesting because like depending on their background, and sometimes you get no information about this beforehand. So you gotta shoot blind, which is great.
Yeah, and depending on like how much, and that's the same thing with like how much money you ask for. Like some people want to see like you want to use it for your business and like contributing. Other people like want to see it as like an investment, how much you're going to use this to grow. What's stopping you from doing this idea? Because everyone's at different stages of their idea too.
Yeah.
Like we're at a stage where we don't really need capital to keep this going. Like we have the technical and like business skills to do this without any capital, or we have the internal resource. Like we can invest our own money into it.
But we
Some
need our
people
connections and like partnerships.
Right.
Yeah, like,
Some people need that $100,000 to build their app to even like start on step one.
Yeah.
And so knowing exactly who you're competing with, what kind of competition it is it a early stage competition where everyone's like, okay, I need this money to get started, versus, okay, I need this much money to keep going, or I need this much money to like actually go like forward.
yeah.
So you have to do a lot of it's a lot of time, but it's
Now,
ultimately
so
worth
talk about like valuation and stuff like that, because you're trying to build the company to the point where you sell it, right?
We're not, so there's one thing I read, like you're not supposed to build a company with the idea to exit in 5 years, because you're
That's the
putting
person.
you're putting your
A
end
start
date
and
at
end
5
date.
at 5 years. You're not opening up like half the ideas that we have for like robotics, IoT, and all that stuff. That's not gonna happen, or it's very unlikely to happen in
Not
5
all of them
years.
at least.
Not all of them, but like the really big, hairy, audacious goals or whatever, that's not a 5-year plan. That's a keep going And it's a source of inspiration, you know?
Yeah.
This ultimate goal at the end is what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, because we want to cash out 10 years from now, minimum.
Yeah.
Because that's when, like, if we get 10 years in, the shit we can do be insane.
Yeah.
But, like, and then, like, for our customer base, like, I can't imagine, because our contract length is 3 to 5 years. Sometimes even longer is what, like, we're still testing this stuff out. But to look like a customer in the eye when they shake your hand, we go through this entire process, we map out your building, and you say to us, and then we say to you, like, hey, we did it, we're gonna sell. You know, like, that's such a fucked up thing to do to somebody.
Yeah, and they ask us too, like, hey, are you guys, I mean, because we're still in college, and some of the people that ask, like, hey, you guys are college kids, is like, okay, you're gonna make some money and then leave, or are you guys gonna continue? And we tell them, like, we're gonna continue this, we're like, we care about this product, we care about, like, where this can go. Like,
But
you should consider it, like,
I was gonna say,
building your assets, because you don't want to be like you don't want to stay a small business, right? Where you're just making money and then you just get a multiple revenue. You have to keep building assets, or building value, or building proprietary things. And that's where, like, someone like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, that's where they see the value in acquiring you. And that's where you get, like, the very, very high valuations, like the $2 billion acquisition, things like that. And that's part of our incorporating that aspect into our business plan and making sure that we benefit from that. We are growing with that data, that other people can look at it, like, something happens 5-10 years down the line, we get an offer that we can't refuse. We get a much higher valuation than, like, not even considering it from the beginning, or not building our business based off of that. Yeah. Because at that point you're not a startup if you don't have a lot of scale, or you don't have plans for scale. You're essentially a small business. You just repeat, and then maybe you sell for someone else so they can just repeat.
Yeah, because we don't want to sell on EBITDA. You know, what do we start selling again? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like something times revenue, or
like
if you run like a restaurant, or you run like a packaging company or a trucking company or something like that. They're gonna go how big you are and, like, how much revenue you're making and what your projections are for the next, like, 2 years or 3 years.
And multiply it by 2.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Versus, like, for us, where sky's the limit, where we're building the foundation now that, I don't know, one property, even though we're making like $2,000 a month or something, or a year, or whatever we make from the actual, like, service we provide, the data we collect, the relationships that we make, the future potential for collaboration, IoT integration, all that stuff makes it so much more valuable than just, okay, it's just $2,000 a month or a year from this client.
But if
Google came in and they're like, yo, like, here's a bill, and then you get to, like, still run parts of it. I mean,
even if it wasn't a bill, what if they were like, here's $25 million?
We're not selling. No. So, like, the only thing, so the money is not as important as what it would mean for who's running the company, how much they value us, and then the company that wants to buy us. So, like, I don't know about Sury, but we are, because we don't talk about this, but I'm not selling to an investment firm.
No.
Yeah, God no. Like, I mean, like, because they're just
not gonna care about the company.
Yeah, they're not even that. They're about profits only. Like, someone where the scale is the priority is something that we'd sell to, because
they're gonna treat it like it's theirs.
Yeah, but more importantly, they're gonna build it the right way.
Understand the long-term value and because an investment company, they're gonna squeeze every penny out of it until everything's squeezed dry.
And
they're gonna fuck over their clients. They're going to not give a shit about, like, security and things like that. That's where a lot of your values start to drop when you sell. Okay. Especially when you, like, switch out the original founders with other people or new management, things like that.
Yeah.
Where they don't have that vision, they don't have that care, they don't have that mission.
You know, like how Amazon, like, they're barely profitable they wouldn't be profitable without, like, the web services division. Like, that's the type of company we would want, because all their money that they're taking in, they're putting it all back into the company to scale it. They're trying all these cool ideas, they're doing all this dope shit, and they're like, it's more important than the revenue, because the money will come in. They can flip
building new things.
Yeah, they can flip a switch tomorrow, and then they can be profitable next quarter, like, extremely profitable. But, like, they decide not to, because all it goes back into R&D. Like, that's the kind of company.
For them.
Yeah, that's the kind of company we want to be. Yeah. One, because that's allowed now, and we would be able to leverage ourselves in a really good position.
Yeah, we could be the company that we raise tons of money and we just reinvest everything. And that's what we want to do with all this new ideas and new.
Unless there's a recession, then we're not trying to put so much leverage on that.
But in terms of like, even like if someone
It's
offered
coming
us
around the
like,
corner.
We'll be.
even if someone offered us $10 million tomorrow, we'd probably not. I mean, we'd consider it, but we'd
That'd be
say,
a rough one.
it'd be a rough decision, but I'd like to think that we'd probably say no because.
Oh man.
Money, I mean, you have your whole life to make money
Of
and do all
course.
that stuff, but opportunities.
To build something great.
Yeah, especially at our age where
You
there's
only
no
get a
risk.
couple
We don't have
chances.
families that we don't like. I mean, of course we have like our parents and like our
I don't have
immediate
kids.
family. Yeah, we don't have kids. We don't have to worry about
Yeah,
like
no other responsibilities.
yeah buying. You know, it's the perfect time where we have just the right amount of risk tolerance to really
Yeah.
put all in and really see where it can go. And then if it fails, okay, at least we did it
Yeah.
and we saw it through and we learned a lot enough to be valuable other places or do this again or provide enough value to another company that we're not like going entry level or doing like I'm a computer science major, like most people go into software engineering where they code and then they work their way up to project managers. Like even if we fail,
He's popping out project manager.
yeah, from like project manager, directors, things like that, where they know like your skills, being an entrepreneur, building a company, handling people, knowing how to build a good product, making sure that that product is delivering value. That's so much more valuable than like hard skills that a lot of people come out of college with.
It takes 10 years to be an enterprise salesman. 10 years of experience.
To be an enterprise salesman?
You have to sell software as a service to enterprises.
Really?
Yeah, and that's where you get big commission, really high base salaries. It's like an 8 to 10 year experience position. So
I thought at first you were saying 10 years to sell cars.
no. So
I
like,
was like, really?
yeah, like if you really want to do that, like to give you a sense, like at Google or something really big, you start as an account executive, you do that for about 2 to 3 years, and move into like an executive account or some bullshit position next one. You sell a higher client base. You do it one more time where you're running a team, and then you get to move into that. So basically what me and Sury are doing right now are things that would take people our age 8 to 10 years to do. So that's cool. But also you lose it's a lot of lumps.
Isn't this cool?
Yeah, it's a lot of
it's
lumps.
So humble.
No,
Like,
no.
They're doing things that kids our age take them like 8 to 10 years.
Well, they're doing it for a
We're doing it.
corporation, and we're doing it for a startup, so it's a very different skill base.
Or you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's just like, if we do it well, or if we even do it enough and we fail, like worst case, we come out with like pretty cool jobs.
So in this partnership that you guys have, because it's just you two that are doing this, right?
No, we just brought in 30 people.
So we have another guy that joined us after about in May
Yeah.
and started working with us in June. He's a really cool guy, Justin.
He's
Went
awesome.
to high school together. He's
Awesome.
great. He's like our core, like part of the core team. Help us make decisions. Help us because he's a really brilliant guy, very smart guy. And then we are bringing on like a few people to see like how it goes, and then hopefully bring them on board, get them involved, and get them to.
We're bringing in 2 people. They're gonna be awesome. We're super excited. Trying to be a team of 5, and then we'll be able to expand really quickly.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Cause like
So are they like gonna be like star team members? Like they part of the main crew, or are they
Yeah.
like?
that's the goal. I mean, the thing is like so. We want to bring in people that we think will be good, cause right now we are hitting the point where all that matters is like
And what type of people are you looking for?
Like right now we're not looking for anyone because we just
Well,
yeah.
well, I'm saying, and those people, what were you looking for?
So, what we need right now are users, and something that Vince always tells us is that the way to sell, when you're a startup, is to promote or I guess empower entrepreneurial salespeople. So you need people that have either been entrepreneurs, have a strong entrepreneurial mindset, or are really open to learning that process. So, like what we were looking for when we were bringing people in, and we didn't discuss this. It was just more people that I think that we like and we've noticed are people that like.
And they're out of the Horn program, so they kind of meet the.
Yeah, we've known them for so long. Yeah, like so it's not like it's been 2-3 year long relationships. Justin's actually the person that I think we know the least collectively.
Yeah.
And
but
he's been awesome. Yeah, he's been great. Yeah.
Right out the door, just.
From the jump, and like the thing about him is that he came to us. First, he came to us with an idea, what he wanted us to do, what he thought we could do to improve, and he did it, and then we gave him other stuff to do, and he did all that stuff, and like
that drive, that initial like he's
like, hey, I know how to help you guys. This is what you guys should do.
I don't even know how to help.
Just like not even just like he's just doing a role. He wants to like he takes ownership of like what he's doing, and he wants to be proud of it. He wants to make sure that it has longer term value, not just like, okay, I'm gonna call these 5 guys today and I'm done. No, he helped create tools. He helped to make sure that his work spreads across, like provides consistent value, and he did it from the get-go without being asked, without being told.
Yeah.
That self-direction, that type of drive, that kind of passion, like for not even just like, hey, we're a startup, we're hopefully like getting traction, we're doing all that stuff. All that stuff aside, he cares about like the core mission and being like hopefully saving lives and helping people. And that mission helps him and helps us to constantly keep providing value, keep coming up with new ideas, keep providing like
persevering.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to find people like him, and I think at the end of this year, I think we'll be able to have a nice little team, and things will be done consistently, and we'll be able to assign roles, and people have responsibilities, and we can start.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah, we can start working like an actual operational team versus me and Sury like shooting the shit. And like shooting the shit got us like to a cool spot, but like we're hitting the spot where it's basically like, are you like a company or are you like a college project?
Yeah, because you really have to like when you reach a certain point, you have to gain a lot of skills like yourselves, like in leadership skills, communication skills, operational skills. You have to learn all that stuff, and building up your team, assigning tasks where it's not just me and James doing everything anymore. We focus on our roles. We develop more as like more into those roles, because if you're a $1 billion company, the CEO is not going to be making sales calls, but they have to know exactly what it takes to do sales calls, to direct the director that directs, the project manager that directs. So it was really nice experience, like the last 8 months doing everything, because now we know exactly.
Really nice. Real fun. Real
now we know
fun.
exactly
Educational
what it takes.
experience.
Yeah, exactly.
We know what it takes, but now we have to go into those.
It's like undercover boss.
Yeah, we have to go into those leadership roles or develop those skills where, if we want to scale, we have to fit into those roles.
You have to create more of you.
Right, and not even just us, just people that are better at us at those specific things.
Better than us, period.
Yeah, so we can make sure that their talent isn't being wasted, that we are holding ourselves up as like the leaders of the company. We know that these people are feeling valued, they provide value, they're feeling like they're part of the team, making sure that they're getting value out of it. All those things that we are starting to do, and I think we're going in a good pace, but it's skills that you have to learn, and that's just across the board.
So are they going to be employees, or are they like equity partners?
So we have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's. I'm so sorry, but can we skip that question?
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. We're learning more about that process now.
Yeah.
But people have come to us and they're interested in working with us, so we're interested in working through that process with them.
Yeah.
But like building trust, seeing consistency, actually bringing value, especially with people our age, is like hard to see, and a lot of people just want to join because.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I've had a dollar per person. It's like, yo, let me join, bro. Like, and it's not like a bad thing. Like, it's just like a more like.
You know, a lot of college students, they really see like, okay, up to graduation, they need to build their resume, and that's.
Yeah. This is a good way to build a resume.
You want to avoid those kinds. We want to avoid those kinds of people because we want longer term people or people that provide value that. If they leave us, we still got value from them, and we learned a lot from them as well as they learned from us. So it's a give and take relationship.
Yeah. And we were open to both types of people, but I just wanted that to be understood from the beginning versus,
Gotcha. Well, so obviously shooting this shit has gotten you guys pretty far. But so tell them, how did you guys come up with this idea? Like, how was this birthed?
You got this, sir.
I met Sury in February of last year. We took a class together.
Entrepreneurial sales.
Ted. Shout out Ted Fulton, the GOAT. And
also the battery's running low, so we gotta hurry up.
Okay, yeah. So I'll rush through this. Met in class. Sury was working on one thing. I was working on another thing. Sury seemed like he was doing something I wanted to do, so I said, "Hey, what's up?" Send the DMs, and like, then
Had to get his number.
Yeah.
He's like,
And then
great.
so we started working together in April, May-ish of last year, and then from there, we worked on a couple companies, a couple startups, together.
So tell us, how did you even come up with this idea? Because being 21 years old, most 21-year-olds are not looking or even thinking about being in any of these types of different realms. Like, how did you guys come up with this idea?
So I think a lot of it's mostly like
We didn't come up
everyone.
with shit. We didn't come up with shit.
There's that too. I mean, so like everybody goes through their lives and they see problems and they see like, oh, this could be better, but they don't do anything about it, right? I mean, everyone is very easy at like finding problems with their day to day. Like they complain and they say like, oh, this sucks. Or I'm gonna deal with this, but it sucks. So I mean, and yeah, we didn't really. A lot of it like.
Every single
We
thing
put
that
it
we
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't come up with any ideas for the most part. Obviously there's things like we obviously made things, but like
Like it was all like, and that's what like, yeah, that's what like Horn teaches you. Is like you go to the problem, they tell you exactly what they want, exactly what they will spend money on.
yeah, and
Like
then
and you just listen to them.
Because you guys had the idea to do it with real estate at first, right?
Yeah.
And then you started pitching it and everything, and then your mentor Vince was like, no, I don't really like this. You guys should try to do something else.
yeah,
and
our
then,
class like kicked us in the.
And then you were pitching, and then the guy was like, whoa, what about security and stuff, right?
Yeah. So like it all comes up with like seeds. You know, you take something, you go off like your base assumptions, and you go in and then you test those assumptions, right? You go and see like with the firefighters, we assume like they have all the information for some odd reason. And we find out that they don't. They use these, like we didn't even consider that, right? A lot of people don't even consider what firefighters do. I mean, they just assume that, okay, there's a fire, you call them, they come to your house, take care of it. We didn't, that's what we thought too. And then we found out like what tools and resources that they use and like
Not
what
much.
their day-to-day is. And yeah, it's not much.
Yeah,
That's
they don't
what-
have much.
yeah, and they like, okay, then we kind of had some base assumptions like, hey, like we have some stuff like we're working on. What if what if we did this? How would this help you? Like, oh yeah, that'd be great. What about this? And then you kind of like go back and forth.
You said 300 different people, like interviews and stuff like that to
Yeah.
see.
I mean, we had like a good base assumption after like 50, 75, and then the 300 people total, like they keep validating it or they keep adding or it keeps building up, you know? So, I mean, that's the real, I guess, secret to finding a good idea is,
It's not your idea.
yeah, you just listen.
Just steal everyone else's idea. Like literally, I mean, we literally set up somewhere between 100 to like 150 meetings, maybe 200, and we just sat with a group of people, and we asked them questions, and they said yes, no, this or that, and then we just wrote it down, and we'd go home and we'd say what can we add. And
Yeah.
that was every day.
And
Like,
how stressful
for-
is this and time consuming? Like
It's
doing
time-
this while
extremely
also like
time-consuming.
It's
being
time
in college.
consuming, but it's nothing.
Not stressful.
It's not stressful because we didn't like. It's not like a company that like, okay, we had an idea, they gave us millions of dollars, and it's not working, and now we have to figure out how to make it work. You know, and that's what a lot of people like. Older companies, that's what they have to deal with. Like, hey, we give you this money, figure it the fuck out. Like, otherwise, like you're fucked. We didn't have that stress because we're still like searching, we're still like learning, we're still developing, we're still understanding how everything works, and then based off of that, understanding, coming up, listening to people, looking at our notes, and trying to figure out ways to piece it together in a way that it benefits and helps the most people that we talk to.
Yeah, and we have no social lives, so I mean, we just every day
Yeah.
just interview. Just
And that's one of the major or key parts of being
Yeah,
a
an entrepreneur,
successful
yeah.
young entrepreneur is
yeah, like
no social life.
no drinking, no girls. I'm not this point. No, no. It was really just we spent the time doing stuff beforehand that wasn't working. So then we found something that was working.
And now you're sticking with it.
Yeah, it was just like let's just keep doing that instead.
And it's not like even that we figured it out. We're still learning like
Yeah.
every day. Like last week we had a few meetings. Everyone has their own perspective. Everyone has their own like story. Everyone has their own like pain points that everybody's opinion like helps. Obviously, like you value people that are higher up a little more some people are more beneficial than others, and you have to
It's
be
like a
able to,
curve. Like the closer they are to the ground, or the closer they are to making the final decision, the more vital their opinion is.
yeah. So you have to know like how to weed out the bullshit and which one's valuable, which one's like, oh, this is gonna set you back. But figuring out, putting in the energy to talk to these people, and then coming back and figuring out, like having a discussion, like, okay, how does this work, and how can we build something or solve this problem for them? And that's where, like, people say like our idea is like great, it's intuitive, it's all that, but it's really because we put in the time and effort to figure it out and talk to these people, and they helped us and validated like, this is what we want.
And on
this is what
average
you should
weekly,
build.
how much time do you think that you put into your business to build it up?
A lot.
Enough.
I don't know.
Enough time.
If you can give the audience like a, you know.
I'm gonna be real with you. Like the time, like the hours doesn't mean shit.
Of course, it matters what you're getting done.
Not even what you're getting done. Like it's like all that matters, and this is my philosophy for most of this stuff, is your input, like what you're doing. If you're doing it the right way, like people get mad. Like quick tangent. So people are always like, have you ever seen TV shows where like, oh, I worked so hard and I didn't get what I wanted, and it's like, yeah, like in the real world that does happen to people, but usually the problem is like you're putting time in the wrong thing, like you're not networking, because that's a part of work too. Like people are like, oh, he knew the right person so he got a job. Like yeah, knowing the right person is a time thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went to go play 8 hours of golf, and I did good enough in my job that I was good enough, and that I was in a position to get promoted. You know, like that stuff isn't like a negative, it's a plus. And so people view certain aspects of like entrepreneurship or like parts of just becoming like more successful in life as more valuable than others. And like it doesn't work like that. Like every single part of it has to be done. And if you don't do it, then you're screwed. So like a meeting.
You rely more on luck than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So like you have to do every single step of it. Like you have to do the applications, you have to write the emails, you have to be there for the meetings. You have to be there for the meetings where you just sit down and shoot the shit. And those are just as important as the other ones. But if you don't do all 4 of them, and there's more to it too than that, but if you don't do all 4 of those, then none of them are as important as the other ones. That makes sense. It's like a big machine, and the gears are exactly as. Some of the gears are different sizes, but they're still the same importance.
Mm-hmm. And without one, the whole machine doesn't work.
Exactly. Now, like what gear and how much time you put into each is different, but like if you're not putting at least some energy in a little bit of everything, then you're fucked. So.
Because I think at its
especially
core, like,
fun too. You gotta have fun.
No, I don't know.
Really
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think
Gotta
like,
enjoy yourself.
Any idea, like, you can kind of make it work, but you have to put in the effort, right?
Let's
Some
keep it
people
Right.
come up with an idea they think it's the best thing ever, and then they just, and that's the big reason for failure. Like the biggest reason why startups fail is they don't have that fit because nobody wants what they built, and that's where all that time and energy, you reduce that risk.
Yeah,
It's
like-
all about risk management.
Tomorrow, if someone looked us in the eyes and said, I'm never buying this, and here's why, and it made complete total sense, and we didn't think about that, we'd just be like, okay, cool, like, what do we do to build it now? So we just change it.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't, it's not like our baby. Like we'd kill the baby easy, and then we just build something else new. Because it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter as much, we're just trying to build something that works.
And that people want.
Yes, yeah.
Because enough people have told us at this point, like, if one person doesn't get it, we know we have fairly good confidence that most people want it and most people will get it.
Yeah.
But we're still building, it's never gonna stop. It's never like, okay, we're done, okay, let's go give it to some salespeople and they'll take care of it. No, it's like, even like as we continue in our roles and things like that,
Sounds
like,
awesome.
it sounds awesome, right? But even as we continue our roles, even if we become like $1 billion company, me and James, or at least, we're still going to be on the front lines, like talking to people, understanding how everything works and things like that.
Probably be more
Or-
internally at that point. 'Cause
Yeah,
we have
like-
to interview
So
our
doing-
employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure our operations are working.
Yeah, and there has to be constant communication. You have to constantly put the customer first and what people want first, before any ego, before any technology, before any attachments. What people want and what problems that they have and how you solve those problems is your core. It should drive your mission. It should drive your company's purpose.
Ooh, I like it.
So.
I like that. So now we're pretty much wrapping this up a little bit. I got one last question for both y'all. Answer at different times. what's like one thing that you've learned, like one major thing that you've learned from this that you could pass along to someone else who's going to try to start a company, whether it's in this realm or in a different realm.
Worry about your team first, and then everything else should work.
So worry about everyone else more than you.
No, like you. If you're not on a team, if you're not working with talented people, then you're probably not going to do anything.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Not even like that, but like on some like real shit. Like if the person next to you isn't like near or above you, then you're probably not doing something right. And like you're just not. I don't know. Like people say you shouldn't be the smartest guy in the room, and like it's okay to be the smartest at one thing, but if you're the smartest at everything or like most major things on your team, then you're doing something very wrong, and it's not going to work. But yeah, that's what I took away.
Mine is, and this is coming from like I tried different like ideas and different like products before and things like that. It's just the whole process, and that's why like I feel like it's repeating at this point, but like the same thing. Just listen to the customer, listen to exactly what they want, understand what they want. Don't base it off of it, because especially like engineers, like I'm a computer science person, so you go based off a lot of your assumptions. You build off of assumptions, and you build based on like, oh, I think this is how it's going to work, or this is how the operations are, and this is how it's going to flow, and people are going to like it, and things like that. And I think it looks good, so other people will think it looks good. No, you shouldn't ever do that. You need to listen to people, because they're going to tell you what's what. And you have to put your ego aside. You have to put aside like, hey, I have this expertise in this. Like, yeah, but it doesn't mean anything if you build a product that's the best thing ever. It's a technological like feat, but no one's gonna buy it. No one's gonna use it. It's ahead of its time. If it's ahead of its time, you can wait. But then, being too early is the same thing as being wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna tell you from the get go, like, hey, I don't need an AI based like coffee maker. It could be like the best thing ever. It could be like hundreds of thousands of dollars put into development, but no one's gonna buy it. It's worthless. So listening to people, understanding it, being open, letting go of like attachments, letting go of your ego, letting go of like assumptions. You should have some base assumptions that you go in with, but then to build off of.
Knowing exactly what people want.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you add your shit in after.
Yeah, and then you build based off of that. And then you keep, it's not even like, okay, I listened to 20 people and, okay, I'm going to continue building this, and once it's done, I'm going to sell to those 20 people. And you have to
keep asking more.
Yeah, you have to keep going back to those 20 people and keep asking other people and keep asking different people, get their perspective, see if there's, like, for example, like we started with like schools, and then we are starting to venture into corporate offices, and they have different priorities, and they have different like features that they want. They want different like stuff that they value versus a school. So understanding those, incorporating that into our design, making it like catch-all or designing specific features for specific people. Ultimately, your goal should be providing as much value to the customer as possible and capturing that much value back. And that's pretty much, that's the goal, that's the secret to any, I think, successful business, is being able to create value for the customer. And that's why a lot of businesses go out of business, is that they're making it hard for them.
Value.
Yeah, they stop creating value, they make it harder for the customer to get that value, they make it
more expensive.